That win?
Whoop.
Oh, there he is.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself? How do you feel?
Uh, good, and getting the rest of the nerves out, but happy with the win.
Well, congratulations.
So it looks like we're off, getting the menuing down, setting the battle in message speed, and setting the menu option.
Daniel, very early going with a different colored menu. Gotta be different.
Looks like the racers that I've got here both managed to get the successful run there on the first one, which is good. It definitely can put you off, like it did to me when you fix and wedge don't run away when you expect them to, as well as messing up your step routing if you're doing it.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because you lose so much time throughout the entirety of the run when they fail to run away, and then like you're sitting there for like maybe 30 or 45 minutes of the run, just like knowing that you're just losing minutes at a time just because they decided not to run.
Yeah, I think on that one for me it was completely my fault and weight tricking a little bit unintendedly. But again, looks like we're getting successful runs here, which is good. Just gonna have one more fight against the Mammoths left. I'm sure everybody knows just from hanging around and watching the previous races, but obviously the obvious reason for doing this is that we're trying to force as much experience onto Terra, especially important in Final Fantasy VI because future party members join based on the average level of your current party. So getting Terra a few extra levels here will cause Locke to join at a higher level and then snowball from there. Looks like we've got successful runs here as well, which is great.
Yep, looking so far so good for everybody involved here. And we're coming up to Welk. Looking like Straevaras is going to be the first one to start this this fight here.
Looks like we've got at least a couple of racers who aren't doing step routing. Definitely not necessary for a good time, but definitely ups your odds and makes the run safer, especially in the train and Velt areas.
And so, if it isn't obvious on the layout, of the top two runners, Straevaras against DanielRGT, are against each other. They are facing each other in this match. And then the bottom two runners, obdajr and bfitz, are against each other. So it's two separate matches, both starting at the same time. And we're just bringing it to you right in the face. Right in your face. So much Final Fantasy, your head's gonna explode.
Absolutely. So it looks like we've got missed a quick kill here from one of the runners here. Yeah. So missing the welt. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'll say a lot of failed quick kills all around. I don't think Obda actually went for it, but bfitz and Daniel both shot a rocket at the shell and ate a megavolt for it, whereas Straevaras was able to pull it off just fine. So he's going to be enjoying probably about a minute, by the looks of it, of a lead there. So, yeah, early lead for Straevaras. Very good.
as well as the time, getting the quick kill also just sort of puts you in a good mindset too, just for the rest of the run, knowing that the first real piece of real tech in the run that you managed to get it puts you in the right frame of mind. At least for me, it does. So yeah, Wexel dropping the knowledge there. 18 seconds over, just completely not trying to do it. So I'm assuming with Straevaras, then the early route advantage that he picked up, combined with that, is what's giving him the lead he's enjoying at the moment. So coming up on the first rename for the characters here. So most RPGs print the letters sort of over frame by frame. So by shortening their names down to one letter, you do save a little bit of time over the course of the run from the game, not having to print out more than one letter. Makes sense to do it for every character except for Shadow, because his name only appears a couple more times. It's not worth the time it takes to delete the letters in this run, at least.
So here the runners are going to, I'm sorry, Daniel's audio just cut out there, threw me off. The runners are going to want to grind Terra up to level 6. This is going to have Locke join the party at a higher level, as well as Edgar, I believe, will get pushed up because she's at level 6. And so all around, grinding early provides you with more experience to all the characters, not just Terra. So it can be really beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. And doing it with only one character in the party, not having to worry about the running or anything, also ups the experience you get. So this definitely makes sense as the most optimal time to do it for both of those reasons. So looking like pretty standard fights so far. Doesn't look like anything really going wrong anywhere. I haven't noticed a back attack or a pincer yet, which is good.
I did notice that bfitz had one where, right before the Tritalk fight, where Vix didn't run, so it looks like he might have had to spend a little bit of extra time, but looks like he's alright as well.
So it looks like all the runners have safely gotten themselves into Terra's memory here. One of the multitude of cutscenes that you need to get through, even in such a short run.
Looked like maybe bfitz did not actually reach level 6. Perhaps took that extra fight and decided to keep going and realized, uh-oh, did get level 6. So hopefully he'll be able to remedy that later. It's going to take a little bit of extra grinding on Mount Colts to make up for that, but again, not the end of the world.
Right.
Because thankfully Edgar has the auto crossbow, which targets every enemy, so he can pretty much plow through anything he runs into.
Yeah, the real, if you don't grind out the levels back out, which would be slow, your main disadvantage would be in boss damage, especially in the ones where you're not you don't have Sabin with you or only have Sabin for the tougher ones. It can be a little rough.
With 4 locks on screen, you could say we have this run on lock.
Oh! Straevaras is entering into the first of the 2 multi-party battles in the run. This one, you can dodge past the Vomammoth underlings if you run past them while their leg is raised on their sprites. So you should be seeing the runners taking advantage of that to hopefully get straight to the Marshal without having to fight anything else. Straevaras getting the first skip really nicely there. And setting up for the second one. It's got that one as well. So during the fight itself, the main thing you want to make sure you do is steal Mog's Mithril Pike. We'll definitely be using that on Edgar later. You can also take his Mithril Shield for safety. Usually equipped to either Terra or Sabin, depending on what the runner's like, if they decide to do that.
bfitz unfortunately taking an extra fight here. Daniel made it look really interesting, but he was also making the leg to the Marshal without getting any extra fights.
Ooh. Yeah, Mog getting netted is awful. You basically have to just completely wait for it to wear off. Probably the first real bit of encounter combat RNG that can really hurt you, that's completely out of your control.
Another unfortunate thing that happened there was when Mog finally did resume his ATB, he killed the Marshal with the pike. So Daniel was unable to get the pike off of Mog, which will hurt Edgar's overall damage.
Yeah, for sure. You can fix it for the Kefka fight by buying the pike in Nikia, but it will for Vargas and Ultros especially, it'll definitely hurt.
So we're making our way down to the town of Figaro, where we'll pick up King Edgar and watch the magic of the sinking castle.
That's right. Learn about long lost twin brother, younger brother, however you personally choose to see that. Straevaras with a bit of a lead here, but the other three runners are all fairly close. It is important that bfitz and Daniel do have slight handicaps between the loss of the Mithril Pike and not having the full levels required. So small advantage for Obda in that sense.
Looks like we've got Ed, King of Figaro for Straevaras. Missed one input there, no big deal.
Odd that choosing to go with Ed. Probably not completely a choice, but
that was bfitz actually. Obda's got E on his side.
Alright. 4 windows going.
It's rough.
Keep track of everybody.
It's really hard to keep track of, like, the very specifics. When everybody's doing the same thing, you know, it's really kind of hard. So we've got Ed on the top left and the bottom right, and E in the top right and the bottom left. A clear divide in speedrun strategy here. So we make our way through Figaro. Unfortunately, Figaro is just basically the land of cutscenes where we have to meet Edgar, then talk to the matron, go back to Edgar, meet Kefka, talk to Kefka again, and then we finally watch the castle sink into the ground and get into a boss battle. But unfortunately, all of this takes about anywhere from 5 to 6 minutes, so this is probably the slowest bit of the run here.
Yeah, for sure. Between this and the multitude of cutscenes sort of around the Phantom Train, but at least you get the Phantom Train area to break that up. This definitely can feel like it drags on a little bit, at least when you're trying to go fast. Casually, this was great exposition for the time. At least I thought so. But so now we get our first look at the ultimate villain. The man who winds up either completely destroying the world or accomplishing nothing, depending on which side of that spectrum you fall on.
I mean, rearranging a continent's a pretty good achievement if you're an evil mastermind, I guess.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that one anywhere, but something about the fact that he doesn't actually wind up doing anything. He just kind of sits in his tower, and something about all he does is kill a couple NPCs and Moblas or something. But
I don't know. The argument is definitely there. I see a lot of people supporting Kefka when those conversations tend to come up.
So Straevaras finally coming towards the end here. Coming up towards the end of this scenario, we'll finally get our boss against a couple of sets of magic tech armor. Unfortunately, it's not a particularly terrific fight. We're just going to be auto crossbowing them to death. Maybe stealing with lock in between.
Temple, thank you for the RPG Limit Break sub. And I'm sure Daniel appreciates the support, and RPG Limit Break most definitely appreciates the support. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Here come our delightful feathered friends to carry us off into the sunset.
I'm a little sad you don't ride the chocobos in the battle with the Magitech armor.
Yeah, I mean, they have the individual character sprites. You think they would have. I agree with that, actually, now that you mention it. Oh man, have I sparked the debate in chat? I'm sorry.
What have you done? Alright, so Magitech armors mean nothing to Edgar, who has the auto crossbow. It'll just take 2 volleys with the auto crossbow and these guys will be down. If you think about all the destruction you did in Narshe with 3 people with Magitech armor, it's pretty remarkable what this bow can do.
It seems to me the auto crossbow should be able to take out, you know, a couple hundred of them in 5 minutes at that rate that it goes.
Yeah, I really don't know what they're worried about when it comes to war.
Another small cutscene here, more exposition about Terra and her abilities, and heading off to the Returner hideout, which, via way of Figaro and Colts, is our next target. And not a whole lot of change either in terms of the standings through what you would, as you would expect, through a pretty cutscene heavy section here. Once again, seeing Straevaras with a bit of a lead, and the other 3 runners all fairly close together.
So here now that we've got the auto crossbow, we do need to farm up a bit of experience for the upcoming couple of boss battles, and so with the auto crossbow we'll be taking all of the encounters we've run into, except for a couple that either don't give a lot of experience and are a pain in the butt to fight, or you know, that's pretty much the only reason you don't take some fights.
Yeah, pretty much. Specifically, once you get into Mount Colts, until Edgar actually gets the Atlas armlet, I think it's very possible you need 2 crossbows to take out the brawlers, so you tend to skip at least them until that point. Pretty much everything in this cave should die to auto crossbow, except if you get a really low roll, the Blearies may not, but you can just queue up a couple of attacks because they'll only have like single-digit HP left.
So we've got Straevaras picking up the sprint shoes. That'll allow us to start walking fast. Essentially, the only thing we even do in South Figaro is pick up the sprint shoes and pick up a chocobo and then head on over to Mount Colts. I'm not even sure it's necessary you even need to visit South Figaro. Obviously, it's faster because of the sprint shoes. But it'd be pretty funny to do a casual playthrough, just kind of walk on past and then get to lock scenario. And you're like, what town is this?
Yeah, for that. Yeah, things kind of a little bit breaking in terms of the lore, at least for sure. But yeah, no reason why you couldn't. And you can sort of see the with bfitz872 there, with the not having the full levels that he requires. He's not taking out these blearies with the auto crossbow. It's a direct result of that. So Straevaras picking up the Atlas Armlet. This is a relic that essentially increases all physical damage the character does, which in Edgar's case pertains to his tools. So this will up the auto crossbow damage, and will, since Edgar winds up attacking physically quite a bit later, will also up his fight damage with the Junji glove.
So you'll see Straevaras fighting this Tusker and the Serpius. The Tusker takes a little bit of extra oomph to kill, so one fire and one auto crossbow will take the Tusker down. You'll notice Straevaras also had Locke run away from that fight. That's because Locke doesn't need quite as much experience as the other two characters. So he will run away from one of those 4-packs, and that'll even everything out very nicely. The ideal levels you want before getting to Vargas is Edgar being level 10, Locke at level 9, and Terra at level 8. And when you enter Mount Colts, I think you're something along the lines of either 976 or...
yeah, 976,
976
yeah.
Sounds right.
Okay, so we can see. So it looks like Obda may be picking up a little bit of ground here, or well, picking up in terms of if all races were theoretically taking on each other, and the level difference hurting bfitz a little bit, having to take all these extra encounters. Starting to see that pack sort of spread out here a little bit based on what happened in the first 20 minutes or so of the run. So seeing Locke get poisoned there for Straevaras, there is a variant on doing the 3 sprint shoes where you buy 2 sprint shoes and a star pendant instead. You can use the star pendant to cure those poisons. It helps you manage your magic and is a little bit of a safety later on in Locke's scenario as well, at the cost of additional menuing to move only the 2 sets of sprint shoes around.
Man, bfitz not only having to do a little bit more grinding, but getting a pincer attack as well certainly doesn't help anything.
Yeah, the pincer attack just definitely not gonna that you can't even auto crossbow everything in one shot. Like, it's just adding salt to the wounds for sure.
So Straevaras is starting the Vargas battle here. Vargas comes with 2 random bears that protect him for whatever reason. You cannot even target Vargas until the bears are down. You can't do any damage to him. And so once you kill the bears, Vargas takes about 700 HP worth of damage before Sabin jumps in to save the day. And ideally, you want to take out the bears and play the fight in such a way that when Sabin appears, you are able to use the Blitz Pummel before Vargas gets his Doomfist off. It's a minor time save. Ultimately doesn't matter more than a couple seconds whether or not you get that skip or not, but it is something you can shoot for if you're playing at a high level.
Right. The other thing you can try and set up for it, depending on where Vargas's ATB starts, because I don't believe Vargas's ATB is set the way Welk's is. I believe his is random, so you can also try to set it up so that he gets a turn immediately following when Sabin shows up on screen, which will have Doomfist go off before you finish inputting your Blitz, and you essentially get to skip it that way as well.
Here's the bodybuilder that escaped from his gym. And of course, for whatever reason, Vargas is going to be impressed by this flurry of punches from Sabin, where he's able to do all these crazy wind attacks that hit everybody and blow away people. Got a possible chance at Marauder here for Daniel.
Oh boy.
Nope. Do you think Daniel made up a little bit of ground on the mountain? Obviously, yeah. There's still a lot of fight left. He's probably still about a minute to a minute and a half behind, but I feel like he's definitely gained some time.
Yeah, but now that you mention it, yeah, I agree with you.
So Straevaras in your top left is going to be making his way to the Returner's hideout. If you've been watching all day, I don't need to mention the Returner softlock, but if you haven't, there's the potential that the NPC can move in the Returner's hideout a specific way, and if he gets in the way of the guard that's leading you further into the base, or if he gets between you and the guard, potential softlock can occur, so it's probably a smart idea to save before entering here, but Strace is going to go for it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, once you enter without doing it, you know what I mean? It usually strikes you like, oh, probably should have safety saved, but you don't want to walk back outside, so.
Fortunately for Stray, that guy wasn't even close, so not going to be a big deal. Looks like Obda's going to be knocking on the door of the Returner's base as well here in a second.
So it'll be interesting to see, even if any of the runners here weren't doing step route, how many of them set up the seed here to see if they can guarantee themselves a 2-encounter river or not. Certainly can be a humongous time save having an optimal elite river.
So here in the Returner's hideout, once you have Terra by herself, she needs to talk to each of the party members, Locke, Sabin, and Edgar. And there's also a nice little stash of items that will help us throughout the Kefka and Narshe run. You got the Air Lancet, the Phoenix Down, True Knight, and an Antidote all up here in these treasure chests. And all of those are pretty much going to come in handy. The Antidote sometimes, maybe not so much, but definitely the other 3 items.
Yeah. The Antidote is basically a safety for Locke scenario in case he happens to get poisoned, and it's one of those things you never worry about until it happens to you and you realize how awful it is.
The little known fact, well, speedruns obviously made this much more well known. If you say no to Banon 3 times, instead of saying yes, you actually trigger this cutscene where Terra walks back into the base all sad, and then the normal cutscene where a wounded soldier walks in happens to occur. And instead of getting the gauntlet like you normally would from Banon, you actually get a Genji glove from a random soldier, which ends up being a much better item than the gauntlet. But I do believe you can also get both the gauntlet and the Genji glove if you talk to this moving soldier where all the treasure chests are after saying no to Banon once. You can kind of take both aspects of it, but unfortunately saying yes to Banon triggers a pretty decently long cutscene, so you never want to do it anyway, in a speedrun purpose at least.
Right. I don't think the gauntlet is actually programmed properly to actually really do much other than like the static defense bonus it gives you. It's supposed to increase the damage you do with just wielding one sword, but I don't believe it's actually programmed properly to do that.
Chad also pointing out, when you're running around as Terra, and she happens to be dead when you arrive at the base, you're actually in a party where if Terra's dead, if you were to walk outside and get into a counter, you would just instantly game over. One of the unique perks of this game.
Oh, interesting. So Straevaras definitely setting it up here. Looks like he's got. So basically, if you set your seed correctly at the beginning, the Elite River encounters are based off your NPC movement value. So by transitioning the screen there, on the moment that returner walks onto that carpet, you can guarantee yourself a 2 encounter river here, including the second encounter being a pair of pterodons, which is exceedingly useful for getting Edgar to at level 11.
So with Straevaras manipulating the river and Daniel not manipulating the river, Daniel could get lucky and get maybe 1 or 2 encounters, but Straevaras is guaranteed to only get 2, so this is going to be a point of advantage for Straevaras for sure, and I do believe Obda is going to enjoy the same advantage over bfitz as well.
Right. Daniel, I believe, also has the handicap of not having the pike as well. So Straevaras entering the Ultros fight. So we're going to be using similar idea to what was going on with the other fights is particularly Welk in trying to limit Ultros's turns, especially because a lot of them come with text you have to sit through by using the wait trick of sitting in a menu while animations are going off to lower the speed at which enemies get their turns, and hopefully be able to kill Ultros a little quicker that way.
Straevaras needs to be really careful here.
Yeah, an all-party tentacle probably takes Manon out. He's got him down though. And you may notice that Daniel's Edgar has the dark status inflicted upon him. Fortunately, that's not a problem because the dark status actually doesn't do much because of a programming flaw, where essentially physical evade is tied to magic evade instead of your physical evade stat like it should, and darkness, as far as I know, was programmed to raise the physical evade of whatever you're hitting, and since physical evade doesn't actually attach to anything, then darkness doesn't really do much. Darkness only has one incredible side effect, which is that Strago can't learn lores while he's blinded. Other than that, it is completely functionless.
Ooh, Bannon down to 10 hit points for Obda. Fortunately, the targeted attack after the multi-tentacle was not on Bannon, so he's gonna sneak his way on through here.
Yeah, pretty lucky.
Daniel also getting equally as lucky. Bannon down to 8 HP.
Yeah, Terra is taking a lot of naps. I mean, this is a Final Fantasy run. It wouldn't be a real FF run without our resident Dan taking a nap through half of it. Boy. bfitz872 living a little bit dangerously as well. He's preemptively put Bannon into the front row to sort of increase his damage on the Ultros fight, but those Pterodons started whacking Bannon pretty good. Pretty lucky on the last miss there. So the runners are sort of in the process of getting their way into the second large grouping of largely scripted events in the Doma Imperial base. There's a little bit of action for the players to sort of break it up in the middle, unlike Figaro Castle, which is largely just cutscenes and walking. There is a little bit of fighting and stuff in the middle here, but there is a lot of exposition around those fights. Straevaras, just showing you the Cyan setup. So the quickest way to kill that general is with Cyan's Retort, which is why you, for the one battle only, set your battle speed back up to full to try to give him his turn as quick as possible. Didn't notice if he got the black belt or the Phoenix down. I don't know about you, Nirm. I actually prefer getting the Phoenix down for the most part as a safety as opposed to the black belt, which, unless you're desperate for money in Nikia, doesn't really serve a ton of purpose. What do you think? Nirm just had to step away. We'll find out later. Nirm just had to step away for a moment. He'll be back shortly. I did sort of provide my own response to that question, so I do prefer getting the Phoenix down as a safety. Nice fight there from bfitz to get through that. Crit from Edgar, just to help seal it. And doing the equipping and unequipping here, largely to get the ninja gear on Sabin, just to increase his speed. And a little bit unfortunate for Straevaras. It is possible here that these Templars can trigger interceptor counterattacks, which will potentially save you that air lance hit to use on the cadet later on. We'll see if any of the runners get lucky enough to have that happen for them. Now we get to see that delicious purple Kool-Aid. Absolutely nothing wrong with this picture. Just move right along. Just delicious purple drink. Unfortunately, the people of Doma are allergic to purple Kool-Aid. Including Science Family and the King, unfortunately for him. All right, so it looks like Obda did get the interceptor counter there, which is really nice. Oh, he's gonna get two of them. And yeah, Daniel did change his menu background. There are a few preset options, and that is one of them. So it only would have been, you know, maybe a second or two to completely flip that around. But I mean, it's a second or two. I'm throwing it away. This is a speed run. Gotta go fast. I'm sure we will. I was just about to say, I'm sure we will see somebody throw the Demon Chocobo up in a race at some point. I'm sure that will happen.
Alright, what did I miss?
Not much. Yeah, you missed me asking you questions that I realized right after I asked them you weren't here.
Excellent.
But, you know, it's fine.
Awesome.
Pretty standard. No Kefka plexes, as I've seen. Unfortunately, Obda did get lucky enough to get a few interceptor counters, which was good for him.
There's a whole lot of poisoning going on here.
It's just purple Kool-Aid, man. It's fine. It's totally fine. They just spiked it with some rum. That's why all the soldiers are just passing out. They're fine. So I'm moving pretty quickly through the fights. Straevaras entering this little Magitech section. Not too much to worry about here. Even if the Magitech armors do happen to take somebody out, you should be able to get to the Healing Spring in the Phantom Forest fairly quickly, and without much problem. Obda's shadow getting really close to going down here. Shouldn't matter too much at this point, but definitely would be a little bit scary if the M-Tech armors up here decided to focus on one, either Seven or Cyan, and Shadow being completely down.
Shouldn't be too awful.
Yeah, you definitely have to get some terrible luck, like someone getting tech laser twice in a row or something, but...
Yeah, for a long time, the speedrun never did grab Shadow, and it's technically still faster not to grab Shadow, but Shadow provides so much safety to everything in this route that, you know, it's a very minor time loss compared to the amount of safety it brings.
Yeah, exactly. Just having his 200 health or so sitting around to absorb damage from you is huge, if nothing else. So Phantom Forest can be pretty scary here if you get pincered by 3 ghosts. you get really unlucky with the ghost turns and what they choose to do, they can actually completely wipe you out.
Straevaras is enjoying about a 2-minute lead, and I would assume it's maybe a little over 2 minutes between Obda and bfitz as well. So both runners on the left show on the right who's boss right now.
Yeah, bfitz just getting a little unfortunate with missing the levels there. All that extra grinding on Mount Colts in particular really sort of set him back. And I don't think Daniel's really made too many mistakes. I think it's mostly just been the step routing, the Elite River setup, and all that has given Straevaras a bit of an advantage on that side. So Straevaras trying to stay on the step route, forcing an encounter here. Basically because this fight against these still goings is way easier and way less scary than the 4 Whisper fight that you would otherwise get outside here. The 4 Whisper fights are scary. They decide to, a whole bunch of them decide to demi you. That can really cut into your HP, and it takes a long time for the animation to go off. A lot of Terras that need naps, and we had a lot of Shadows that need to take a rest too. They haven't full out had a nap yet, but they've been close. I'm moving to the Phantom Train here for most of our players. Looks like pretty much everybody going with the unfortunate pincer attack from the still goings there for Obda.
I think the Phantom Train is where the step route shines the most versus not. There's a lot of nasty like 4-pack encounters outside between bombs and the whispers, and even some stuff on the inside can be really bad. And the 244 step route provides a lot of safety in that regard.
Yeah, for sure. The 3 Hazer, 1 Whisper inside can also be awful. Ooh. So, Blaze there from the bomb. Blaze is, I think it's 3/8 on there if they get a turn to use it. Don't quote me on that, that may not be right, but it's something like that. It's fortunately because it hits Cyan and he has equipment on, it wasn't a one-shot, but if you run into them on the Velt or if they hit Shadow, they will fully one-shot somebody with that. So they're always a little bit scary to run into them.
All right, time to see. Will he suplex? Will he not?
I'm sorry for not suplexing, but I felt really behind from the first part of my run, so I didn't feel like I could afford to do it. Oh. We got a train plex. Straevaras is living for the memes. Cyan goes down for Daniel. That can make the Phantom Train a little bit scary if he gets an Evil Toot and gets a few bad status effects out of it. Straevaras entering the saddest cutscene ever made, or one of them. I just say that because this one hit me right in the feels when I was a kid and played this for the first time. But
I definitely think it's almost unexpected because you're on the spooky train, there's all these ghosts, you don't really tie it to anybody in particular, and then you get to this point, and then all the people of Doma are like, what's up, it's a train. Right. You're like, oh no.
It's a much more common thing now, but having like stuff like having a character's child actually die is not something that happened a lot back then, so it's surprising when it did. We get another suplex from Obda. I don't know if we'll get one from Daniel. I don't know if he's going to want to risk that, considering the state of his party right now. Yeah, he's not going to, and I don't blame him.
Fortunately, Evil Toot did play nice for Daniel there, so able to get through without too much trouble.
Yeah, it's always a really scary with this party member down. If you get muddled or something, that could be awful.
So one important thing to note, Straevaras got into an encounter with Grasshoppers there right before getting to the waterfall. That means when he's looking for Gao in the Veldt, he's going to run into those Grasshoppers instead of just a single enemy. That's one of the issues with the step route. If you take too many extra steps, is you change your Veldt packs a little bit, and that can cause some problems.
Yeah, it sure can. Because those Grasshoppers typically can't die to a one auto attack. You need to hit them with Orbital or Dispatch, which takes time. And then, of course, there's always the danger that you get the pincer as well, which is horrid because Gao can't even show up on a pincer attack.
So Stray has decided he really doesn't like Cyan. Actually, he really doesn't like Sabin. They're fighting each other now. That's an oopsie.
So what Straevaras is doing here, and I'm sure the other runners will be doing it as well, it's a skip here to skip entering the Rizzo Pass boss fight at all. The part that he's setting up here is that if you revive Cyan in the fight and have him use retort, he'll essentially retort off the next action that he's capable of retorting off of at all, regardless of who the target is. And that's combined with, I think, something that's relatively recently found within the last year or two, where if you hit an enemy with both a physical and a magical attack on the same turn, it messes with the enemy's AI, and in this case, the piranhas don't call any more piranhas, and the fight's just over.
And Stray is able to execute that just fine. Scared me a little bit when he confirmed that sword tech. I didn't see the 2 light up, but apparently it was long enough, so able to get through without too much trouble. Daniel electing to use his 1 antidote on Shadow for the tiny little walk here. That might come back to bite him in the future.
Yeah, but say hopefully he doesn't see a poison unlock, because that, like I mentioned it earlier, that's something you don't realize how awful it truly is until it actually happens to you. Now entering into another one of the heavy RNG sections of the run here. Oh, getting the suplex from bfitz872. So we got a hat trick of suplexes out of our 4 runners. Definitely sort of a loose definition. It's a little stricter than that as to when you can show up, but for general purposes, I think normal encounter works. Oh, nice, yeah. That's something you see very often. Reuse the Pass is a little dangerous because he has Aqua Rake and El Nino, which relatively low levels that we're sitting at can be pretty scary, but it takes him out. Well done. So if go ahead. Yeah, perfect. And I was just about to say that could be an area where bfitz could potentially pick up some time on Obda if he goes through with the Reuse the Pass skip. Looks like second try go for Straevaras. Not too bad. It definitely also seems to be one of those things that snowballs. Like when you get pincers on the Velt, that's one guy who decides to not show up on the normal encounters when you get them. Like it's just never just stacks on top of itself.
Another added benefit to step routing is 9 out of 10 seeds are going to run into these Templar soldiers. So if you don't do any sort of manipulation of your your pre-route seed, you're almost pretty much guaranteed to get these Templar soldiers.
Yeah, why is that? You know, I know it has something to do with like the enemy classes on the Velt or the encounter classes. Why exactly does that happen?
I'm not 100% sure. I used to know back when I played this more, but
Yeah.
it's just a very common encounter. The way the Velt works, from what I recall, is that there's a whole bunch of packs. They're all, like, each enemy formation is part of a pack, and then if you haven't encountered a particular group that's part of a pack, it moves on to the next one, and there's a whole huge like area where you don't have any of those, and so you eventually slide on down to Soldier Templars. I think that's how it works.
Right. Yeah, that sounds right. Because I think, yeah, out of like 64 packs, they're like in the 50s or something. Yeah. There you go. Lynn's dropping the numbers in chat. Yeah.
Hey, I was actually right. Doesn't happen very often.
So Obda getting Gau with relative ease as well. And bfitz has successfully done the Riza Pass skip, so he should gain a little bit of time on Obda here. Quick Gau for Daniel as well.
So Straevaras has found the shiny thing, and he's ready to go deep sea diving here.
Yep, three men crammed into one diving helmet on their way down the rapids to Nikia.
Sabin really does have a roundabout way to getting back to Narshe. You know, he takes a train, jumps down a waterfall, jumps in a river. He's living it up, man.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, if you want to get Mog all of his dances, you have to do this again, too. Or most of it, anyway. So entering the Serpent Trench here for Straevaras. Obda quick to follow him up here. That first encounter can be a single angle form, and they can Aqua Rake your party, which will kill Sabin and Cyan if they do it. So that's always a little nerve-wracking if you're doing a run and you get that single angle form for sure. So angle forms also have a hard to run from flag as well. So Cyan being wounded can actually be a bit of a boon here because he's so much slower to run away by comparison to Sabin and Gau. Oh, Straevaras accidentally going the wrong way on the Serpent Trench and has to work his way through this cave here. I almost wonder if you get that cave, if it's not worth just grabbing the green beret for the speed up upgrade. I don't know. Probably not, but
I don't know. I feel like maybe if you make that mistake, you might as well, right?
eh.
So that should get Daniel some time to catch up for sure.
Straevaras picking up his 11 smoke bombs for the last two scenarios, not buying a mithril pike, so it looks like he will be headed into Mog's cave for the rune edge.
Oof, bfitz 0 for 2 on Gao here.
Should have another straightforward shot at him here. And we'll see the first clip of the race here from Straevaras. Oh, actually, it's a little bit too frame perfect there. If you do that too fast, you do walk in front of that guard rather than through him.
Unfortunately for bfitz, having to grind out extra encounters just to get Gao, so...
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, you can basically use that clip to just completely get out, and it has some pretty funny consequences coming up here, as you'll soon see. So Straevaras, with only buying the 11 smoke bombs, is opting to force run some fights here now that he's off step route. bfitz finally getting Gao to show up.
You know, just straight actually getting poisoned there, but fortunately he had antidotes, probably from the returner's hideout, and I think he might have actually bought some extra as well.
Wouldn't have been too bad that late into the cave, but yeah, once you get it happen too early, man, it sucks. So much menuing for potions without antidote. So on to the final scenario for Straevaras, which is just going to be a lot of smoke bombs here, and hoping that Bannon doesn't get crit in the face. I know when I play the Link to the Past randomizer as well, I use the Mog sprite, which turns into Celeste when you're hit with a bunny beam or whatnot, which is a nice little poke at this glitch as well for fun. Daniel and Obda continuing on through lock scenario. No one looks like they've been unfortunate enough to get pincered by one of those gold bears, which can be really devastating. It's the reason actually why we move Locke into the second row, so that if he does get that pincer, he's facing the gold bear and doesn't get gouged in the back. So Abda and Daniel are pretty close here. In terms of time, they're practically dead even, judging by their timers. So the security checkpoint here, that one particular point right there, if you actually just hold A, you'll automatically get the break. So that's really nice. Takes that potential RNG element or skill element, if you want to put it that way, of getting through that off the table. bfitz872 starting his trip down Serpent Trench. Definitely had a little bit of tough luck on his run, so hopefully he gets a smooth trench here. It's yeah, exactly. It's set up by the restreamer. We just pick a runner who's not using any microphone or anything that goes over it, so that you just get the game audio. So Straevaras getting that rune edge on Edgar there. Little fortunate with these side attacks. I'm not sure if he has any smoke bombs left. He certainly was low. So Straevaras safely traversed all three scenarios in Arvis's house for the final little cutscene here before the last part of the run. And Obda and Daniel continuing to be really close together here. Small lead for Obda. Obviously, they're not directly racing each other, but should be an exciting finish between the two of them nonetheless. Pretty smooth Serpent Trench for bfitz872. He's going to go up and grab his smoke bombs here. Wouldn't be shocked, yeah, if he also grabbed the pike, considering the early struggles for level.
Tell you what, all those extra Velt encounters, he had plenty of money to buy smoke bombs. Poor guy.
Yeah. Super close race in the overall battle for second here, though.
And this is by no means like a finished race. Kefka, if you can definitely go wrong if you don't play it correctly, and if he decides to ice 2 the entire party, you know, that's a wipe, and you're looking at a reset at the Kefka and Narshe save, and so that costs a lot of time. Considering both runners are in the cutscene right now, essentially. A wipe on Kefka by Stray. Daniel could definitely come back and take it.
Yeah, that's true. You should never get turn 3 on Kefka if you execute the fight correctly, but if you don't, yeah, that certainly is a potential danger for sure. bfitz here working through the cave with Locke. Safety saving before the cave, which, especially if he doesn't have any antidotes, makes a ton of sense.
Cave can definitely be pretty scary. Of all the places in the run, probably the place I recommend saving the most is outside of this cave before going in, because anything can happen. If Locke gets stuck in a pincer, well, he could just smoke bomb out of those, but if he takes any amount of damage, those gold bears can gouge you for a lot of damage, and there's just a lot of things that can go wrong in this cave.
Yeah, absolutely. So Straevaras entering the final section here. So basically you use a little bit of just movement tech to avoid these soldiers. Actually a lot less precise than the Moogle fight is, because you can just stay completely out of the way. You don't have to try to sneak your way past or anything. And then avoids the rider. I don't know what kind of person would fight the rider, but it's into Kefka here.
Oh,
Drops.
no.
Yeah, dropping that blitz means we'll probably see a third turn on Kefka's end here. Getting some good luck with the scissors attacks from Gau, though, will certainly help. And there we go, with an official win for Straevaras. Official SRL time, 1 hour, 28 minutes, and 54 seconds for the victory.
Yep, flubbing that first blitz input, but fortunately Kefka was nice and chose to bolt, so didn't have to worry too much. And a solid victory from Stray, for sure. He played solid throughout the entire thing.
Yep, for sure. No major mistakes. Just played solid right through the whole thing. I agree. Very nice run. Meanwhile, Daniel, who I think was slightly behind Obda for most of this race, has pulled ahead here and is going to get into Kefka first.
I think Daniel might have been going up and saw that Stray wasn't actually done yet, so maybe he elected to skip the save.
tricking Kefka a little bit here. Trying to make sure he doesn't see that third turn.
Daniel does see the third turn, but I think because Edgar didn't have the weaponry, he was a little short on damage, but he's going to be alright as well.
Oh, Obda unfortunately getting the rider. Second one of those we've seen tonight at least. But Daniel is officially finished with a time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 39 seconds. So GG to Daniel.
So your two winners for this race are... No, sorry, Obda's not done yet. I thought Obda finished. I forgot about the rider. So Straevaras defeating DanielRGT. Definitely a close race there.
So Obda, because of that rider fight, having to three-man Kefka here could be interesting.
Oh, that crit from Gao is going to help a lot.
Yeah. And if you're going to be down a character, Cyan probably the best choice, I would think.
Oh, the poison on Edgar's gonna drop him. He's in some trouble.
Yeah.
And Bolt once again, but it takes Gao out, so he's gonna... Saban's gonna have to solo this.
This will be the moment of truth right here. Saban able to power through that ice. This Order Bolt will probably get the kill.
And indeed it does.
So I'm making it interesting, but gets through it. Finishes third overall, first in his race at a time of 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 32 seconds.
GG to Obda. And we've got bfitz wrapping up the Terrace scenario here. He won't be too far behind.
Just some unfortunate undoings for bfitz. The error with the not getting the levels, and then just really some awful RNG on top of it in a couple of spots. The Velt in particular just sort of compounding the problem, but looks like he's on his way to a strong finish here. So I believe bfitz did pick up a second pike, so I'm pretty sure he will just be skipping the Mog party room. really solid run from all of our runners, and yeah, a little fortunate for Obda there at the end, but pulled it out. And if you like your Final Fantasy VI speedruns, be sure to stick around because we have one more race coming up between Synth Pop is Back and Vanny Van. Nirm will be joined by Nitsky on the commentary for that one. bfitz just finishing it off here. We will be soon to be graced by the evilest of generals, General Kutan, who torched Miranda. That evil face that we'll get to see, the evilest of faces.
I always felt like Cyan was like the only one with the voice of reason. Everybody's like, no, it's fine. You killed like, massacred some people. Nah, no big deal. It's all in the past. And Cyan's like, hello?
Yeah, the past is in like 15 minutes ago. But yeah, whatever. It's fine. Pretty sure that's what happens with like all those, serial killer and thriller movies. You just let them into your circle way too trustingly, but it's fine. I mean, look at that face though. I mean, how can that not be the face of pure evil right there? I mean, there are some pretty striking similarities between Amog's face and Kefka's makeup. I mean, I'm just saying.
I could see it.
Absolutely scheming eyes. Just plotting, constantly plotting. The Egger's picking up on it, cold as ice. He knows, he suspects. bfitz gonna safety save. Definitely don't want to get all this far to lose it to an ice 2 for sure. You get RNG like this, you want to make sure you just finish the run out. All right, sitting it skips nicely for bfitz872. Hopefully we'll just dodge the ride here. Nicely done. Doing the weight trick, trying to force Kefka's turn as possible. Yeah, Cyan just taking 2 physical attacks right to the face there, going down. Yeah, having the 2 pikes on Edgar helps for sure, but yeah, I believe so. Congratulations to bfitz872, and finishes with an official time of 1 hour, 43 minutes, and 33 seconds.
141.57. That was his former PB.
Oh,
so
that was former PB. Yeah, right. I was just looking at the timer and being like, why is it off that much? But yes, thank you.
No problem. And there you have it. Obda Jr. defeating bfitz872. bfitz872 running into a slew of bad luck. A little unfortunate for him, especially right before the run started. His saves wiped off his cart, so he had to scramble for a backup and wasn't able to get step route. So it's really unfortunate for him. And Straevaras able to defeat Daniel. Pretty close race up there. Straevaras won by a minute or 2, but was definitely Daniel's definitely in the running there.
Yeah, for sure. Entertaining races all around. Absolutely.
So be sure to follow all 4 of these runners, and thank you for joining me on commentary, Zyrak, right after your victory earlier. So
yeah, not a problem. I enjoyed it, Nier. Thank you, and thank you for running the marathon restream tonight. Myself and all the viewers appreciate it.
Yep. Well, we've got 1 left to go, so we're going to work on getting that one set up. Once again, thank you, Zyrak, for joining me, and I'll see you